What's going on, everyone? Troy from the Intraday Investors, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my trade on Apple and how I was able to take advantage of this opportunity that presented itself. One of my biggest things when I first wake up in the morning is I like to create a daily watch list. Okay, so I like to write down the S&P 500 or the SPY. This is actually what we're looking at right now is the SPY. It's an ETF that tracks the performance of the S&P 500. So I like to look at that pre-market levels, and I like to look at the Dow Jones Industrial ETF, which is DIA, ticker DIA. And I like to look at these, and also QQQ. Okay, QQQ is an ETF for the Nasdaq. But the reason why I like to utilize these ETFs is because they give me a better understanding on which direction we're going to be performing today. Not always do the pre-market levels. I don't like to give too much weight to the pre-market levels. They just help give me a better understanding on which direction we're going. Okay, so you'll notice pre-market levels. You'll start to touch onto something in pre-market levels. You'll start to touch onto some clues. Okay, and I like to utilize these clues in pre-market, and they help put me in the driver's seat when the market opens, and it helps give me conviction on my trades. Okay, so I want you to understand that pre-market levels, don't be lazy. I like to wake up at around 8:30, start to draw my trend lines, start to build my watch list for the upcoming following day, and then every day I adjust my watch list because every day presents a new opportunity. So right now we're going to be talking about my trade on Apple, and first off, let me talk about the SPY and Apple. I like to trade SPY with Apple because the SPY, the S&P 500 market indicator, however the SPY is performing, however the market's performing, typically that's how Apple, typically, not all the time, not always 100%, but typically Apple likes to trade and follow the trend as SPY. Okay, so if SPY is selling off, you could just only imagine that Apple will sell off with it, but not all the time. It's never 100%. I just like to use it for visual confirmation on justifying a good trade or not. So right now we're looking at SPY, and we're going to draw some key levels that gave me conviction on my trade that I was able to profit off of. So as you can see, we're looking at the SPY. Pre-market, we set a high, and it runs out of steam at about 256.75 or 257, okay, and it sells off, okay, and you can see that it retests that same resistance, okay. And as you can see, we have a double top because going into the market opening, we can see a slight little sell-off. So I have my trend line drawn for my resistance. So as you can see, we have a double top on SPY. Okay, so typically when a stock's showing a double top based off technical analysis, not always, again, never 100%, I usually like to see a sell-off. But you can see when the market opened, we opened with 3.5 million in volume on SPY, and we see a little quick burst, okay, and it broke that resistance. But I was very hesitant and patient because I don't want to get into a false breakout. I like to wait for some more confirmation, another candle. I never like to trade on the first 5 minutes anyways because there's no data to go off of. I mean, yeah, I have my pre-market levels, but I like to wait a little bit and not rush into a trade, especially with the spreads in the option chain being so wacky. It's hard to get good fills in the first 5 minutes. I mean, you can trade, it's just like higher risk and higher reward. It's just not my trading strategy. So I was patient enough, and as we can go over, you can only imagine that SPY tracks the performance, tracks the performance of, or Apple tracks the performance of SPY. Not always 100%, but they kind of move with each other. So again, Apple, I see on SPY that we hit that double top and we're starting to sell off. So you can only imagine on Apple, I was kind of assuming the same thing. You can see we're doing 1.6 million volume on Apple on the first 5 minute candle. And right away, I mean, we have our line right here. It breaks our pre-market high, but right away, I'm automatically assuming that this candle is definitely overextended. Again, I never like to trade in the first 5 minute candle. And you can also see that it's very overextended. And I don't want to chase on the long side and get beat because you can see that it did run out of steam at about 253.50 and ended up selling off. And same with, if you go back to the SPY, same thing, same deal. It started to sell off as well on the second 5 minute candle. So I'm still patient. It's still selling off. I don't have to get the best entry every time. Like as soon as I see a red candle, the second red candle start to pull back, I'm not going to chase it on the long side or on the downside because again, I need some more data to go off of. Okay, just because we're selling, I mean that was way overextended, that candle. Okay, so it did run out of steam and it needed a breather, but now it's really making a huge sell off, and I didn't want to chase it on the downside. But again, I like to use the volume weighted average price, the VWAP, this purple line that you can see, because it helps me give the average price of the stock that's being traded throughout the day. Okay, so as you can see, I entered right when it broke. I mean, it broke the VWAP a little bit and then pulled back. And then once it started showing more volume, and then on the tape, I seen the sellers and the buyers. So I like to utilize level 2 as too. I'll make a separate video on how to read the tape. But you can see that the tape was reading really nicely, and we have the break over the VWAP. Okay, right here, I entered a contract right when it broke the volume weighted average price, and then where I was going to cut my losses if the trade reversed against me was right above the VWAP. Okay, so if it did break the VWAP on the long side, then I was just going to cut my losses and move on to another opportunity. But it showed a nice clean move on the downside, and it's really selling off here. Okay, we're doing about almost $1 million in volume. And this is a nice candle. This candle goes from 252 all the way to about 250, so it's a $2 candle. So I was happy that I was able to take or capture this this move. There's so many other opportunities on the table that I wish I took advantage of. Um, but yeah, I was pretty happy with Apple. I only took one trade a day, and it was a nice trade, and I was happy with it. And as you can only imagine, I was done trading by 10 o'clock this morning, okay? And I was able to capture a nice move on Apple. So yeah, that was my trade on Apple. I hope you guys learned something. This is one of my go-to setups when it breaks the volume weighted average price, the VWAP, the purple line, and then I risk above it, and builds more confidence in my trade. That's the VWAP is really like my confidence level. But if it can stay below that VWAP, that's good, and that's showing good strength on the downside. As you can see, it tested the VWAP right here, and it tested it right here, sold off, and it eventually broke it right here. And when it breaks the VWAP, so you can look at the VWAP. When the candles are below the VWAP, you can look at it as a resistance, and when the candles are above the VWAP, you can look at it as a support. Okay, see how it always bounces on the VWAP on the upside, but on the downside, it tests it and it's like a resistance. So again, it's like my confidence level. You never solely rely on any indicator to justify a good buy or sell. I just like to use it for visual confirmation. And again, my only regret on this was getting out so early. That's something I need to work on, is let my winners run and cut my losses quickly. And I feel like that will really help me in the long run. That's just something I'm trying to work on right now. But as you can see, the SPY is slowly started to recover throughout, or this is Apple, okay? Well, SPY, the same thing. It's slowly started to recover throughout the day. And as you can see, we're going to pull up my advanced trading platform. It's getting to the end of the day. What time is it right now? So it's 9:35. The market's about to close. So you can see we're selling off right now. So yeah, you can see that we broke the high from yesterday. We were on a 3-day surge, and after market hours, we hit a high at 263. We never got up to that level to even test it. We reject. Oh, did we get up to 263? No, not even close. Oh, pretty close, but not that close. You can see it didn't even make to test the 263 level. I truly do think we're in a bull market trap. If you look at the SPY in a 20-day, 4-hour analysis, we can draw our technical analysis levels. So you can see in the 20-day analysis, we had highs of 313 and lows of 217. We started to recover some of our losses, but now we're making lower highs. So we're going to see how this plays out. I truly believe that, you know, everything that's going on, I think we're going to test new lows. And yeah, we'll see how this week plays out. I definitely think last week I thought there was going to be blood this week, but it looks like we're starting off Monday on a good note. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my trade on Apple. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me before moving on to the next video.